Welcome to the Keys to the City podcast, where the kingdom enables your success. I'm your host, Christian Graham. Welcome today with Jonathan Burgos and Dennis Dizzy Doan back again. Wearing the red today. What's up, guys? What's up, fellas? How we doing today?
Doing good, Christian.
Doing good.
Good.
Cool. So what brings us in today? Let's talk about it. What we got, Dizzy?
Yeah, so basically I wanted to, I met Jonathan a few weeks ago after hearing a lot about him and what he's been doing. I basically just want to give him his flowers and show appreciation for what he's done for all these students throughout the county over the past 4 years, and kind of let him tell us a little more about the impact that his organization has had on the community.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research into you too. I was like, oh my goodness, like on the website, I don't know how up to date everything. I hope everything's up to date, but over 500 students and an 80% debt-free rate of them being able to go through college debt-free and graduate debt-free. That's amazing. So let's talk about it. Let's talk a little bit more about it.
Thank you, Christian.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dizzy, too, in terms of like the intro and everything. So the website is not updated yet because actually as of the class of 25 who we're serving this summer, we'll service over 1,000 students.
Wow.
So I feel really proud about that in terms of where we are and everything. But in terms of background, I'll just go over this quickly. So I've lived here in San Diego like my whole life. And so I went to school in Fallbrook, and from there went to UCSD. So I had straight A's in high school. And then my first quarter at UCSD, I had straight F's. And on top of that, I got a letter that basically said, if you continue this, you're going to be kicked out of UCSD. And I lost a scholarship on top of that.
Wow.
So all those things, when I thought I knew my stuff, I really didn't. And it was really humbling. And I think if it wasn't for like reaching out to people and asking them for support, because I knew that I couldn't continue what I was doing and still like, be there, I wouldn't be where I am today. So that's the premise of why I started the nonprofit, because I don't want other students that felt the same way or went through similar experiences I didn't want them to reinvent the wheel and try to I wanted them to have that path and that understanding, but also know that they're supported, because that's something, to do it on your own is not easy. And to do it as a first gen, again, is even tougher.
Right. 100%. I 100% agree with that, because me and my brother are both first gen BIPOC youth as well, from Mira Mesa, born and raised here in Mira Mesa.
Okay.
And my brother actually graduated from UCSD as well. I went to SCSU.
Right.
But I remember going through, school and everything, trying to figure everything out on my own. Even with my brother being 4.5 years older, like we're kind of polar opposites. Okay. So we didn't really talk too much. And he tried to help me as much as he could. Like he tried to get me into elite prep when I was in 8th grade. And then I just started hanging around the wrong crowds by 9th grade. And, I had a 0.8 by sophomore year, the end of sophomore year, cumulative. And then I begged my my counselors to give me AP classes and honors classes to be able to get into college.
I see.
And so my counselor loaded me up with 5 honors classes that year, and then I finished my junior year of high school with a 4.8. And then 4.6 and 4.6 in senior year, and then I was able to get admitted straight to SCSU from that point. So definitely appreciate all the work that you do for sure, because I'm sure that these other students, especially on the East County area, Southeast San Diego and stuff, they are much more susceptible to this kind of peer pressures or just gang cultures or whatever it may be, right? That may prevent them from getting into a university for your university. So cool.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think for me, just to add on to something real quick, a lot of times our students from Southeast, right, or from City Heights or what have you in San Diego, they come from schools where a lot of times they're not aware of what are the opportunities out there. And so that potential was always there. The talent was always there. Mm-hmm. But I think what has been missing a lot is the opportunity or access to that. And I think that's where our program really is intentional about being in schools where they're underfunded, under-resourced, and a lot of times the students are underestimated. And for me, that's where I feel like we can make a difference, because, I felt like all of us were in a sense the same things that I just mentioned, and just needed an opportunity and that support network to thrive and to do it not just on your own, but also like to build that community. And I've really seen it grow, like from these over these 5 years, and then now to get to where we are. Like the numbers is one thing. The fact that our students are not just achieving, but they're getting into these schools, they're getting full rides, they're getting the Gates scholarships, they're getting into Ivy Leagues and like all of these things that just shows that these students, they're not the exception, they're the norm. And that's what I want to make sure that like that talent has always been here. But including me as a nonprofit, like we've been missing out on that. So how can we be more intentional about actually supporting these students to get there? Because all our students do is when they get this information, they share it with the next person. They're not gatekeeping that information because they know if they want to help raise up their community, it's all about building that community. And we're just giving them those tools to help them build.
Right. No, 100%. Wait, I just want to backtrack real quick. We didn't introduce what your nonprofit is and what you're the founder of. So it's First Gen Scholars. Sure. Yeah, First Gen Scholars. So Jonathan, your mission is to help First Gen get through college debt free. Right. Is the overall mission, correct?
Yeah, overall, yeah. So it's just to amplify those opportunities, right? So our definition of first generation is if their parents or guardians did not graduate from a 4-year university here in the U.S., then they're considered first gen. So like my mom was a teacher in the Philippines, but coming over here, she couldn't teach. So she had to work at a dollar store to help provide for us. So I'm considered first gen because, again, my brothers and I were among the first ones to go to a 4-year. So that's our definition of first gen. It's also the definition that a lot of colleges are looking at. So when they are asking and searching for first generation students, it's a very similar definition.
Yeah, that's how we got qualified for like first generation as well. Yeah. When we were applying for colleges back then. Great. All that time ago. Oh man. But yeah, the one thing that I keep hearing from you is that you keep wanting to say like amplify opportunities about opportunities. And this is one of the main reasons why I got into being an entrepreneur and a serial entrepreneur at that is I've always had this I'm an acronym guy. Yeah. So my memo, MEMO, is money enhances more opportunities. There you go. And so in any way that I can create more wealth, more money, is another opportunity to be able to give onto somebody else. And so that's why I've been able to create these spaces and create the restaurant and things like that, so that there's just more opportunities to be given onto somebody else to take advantage of that we didn't have before, right? Yeah. And so I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and even a part of the agency, MK Media, the mission statement is we amplify the voices unheard. Okay. Right, and so it's like you put it into like the exact terms. A lot of synergy. You're speaking my exact language. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So what's kind of the next steps moving forward? I know that you guys have a few things in the works right now. What's coming down the pipeline?
All right.
What's going on?
Let's do this.
Yeah. What's going on?
Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
So basically with the Doan Foundation, our main mission when we started was to provide scholarships for underserved youth within Southern California. We didn't really have the infrastructure coming from, starting from scratch. Sure. So I found it kind of difficult to communicate and try to reach out to each and every counselor of every high school from here up to Los Angeles. So we've had a lot of trouble kind of getting the applicants from especially San Diego County to apply. For some reason, it was mostly Los Angeles residents. And, I feel like there are a lot of good counselors out there, right? But there are also some that, they don't have that accountability. So that's where First Gen Scholars comes in and provides that network that we need to reach out to the students that we want to reach out to. So when I spoke to Jonathan the other week, I was like, okay, why don't we do an exclusive scholarship fund called First Gen Artists for the students that he already has in his system. That way, he already has infrastructure. We already know they're mostly low income students, first generation. They're all, excellent academically, and they all want to go towards higher education. So from this point forward, all the San Diego residents, the kids, will get their scholarships through Christian scholars.
Oh my gosh.
Much. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, again, to hear that is a blessing, but also just knowing that the trust you have in what we're trying to do is one thing, but also like I'm excited because we got students from over 34 different high schools in San Diego, from San Marcos down to San Ysidro, and we have students that attend these schools such as SCPA or Chula Vista High that are basically visual and performing arts schools, and so to nurture that is one thing, but also the fact that a majority of these students attending these schools are students of color, where traditionally, right, like growing up, I was taught to be like lawyer, doctor, or engineer, right?
Right.
To actually like nurture that and to actually have a space and just to see what the Doan Foundation, like the intention is one thing, but then also now to say that there's a scholarship where our students can really think about. I think there's more to it than the scholarship. It's that opportunity to connect with creators, with artists who are actually doing this for a living. Like that's game changing, right? Especially when, in a sense, sometimes it becomes for our students more of a hobby. But what if it could be something they could do for the rest of their lives, right? Especially when they love it. Like I can't wait to see where this goes in terms of not just a partnership, but the opportunity. Because I mean, as much as I say four-year university and to get these careers where they're going to thrive, that definition is where it is, right? Whether that's engineering, whether it's being a director, whether that means being a dancer. Like I hope that like what their definition of them thriving is to do something that they love and to have a thriving wage too, right? So that's part, especially like living here in San Diego. So if they can do that and we can keep them all local, like I just see something here where the first initiative of it is one thing, but then to see where this will be, I can't even imagine. Well, I'm excited to imagine what it's going to be like in 10 years. So
yeah, no, and we need more practical positioning of what that definition really looks like, because there's a lot of people that are skipping out on the trades or skipping out on just like that one opportunity that they really wanted to take. Like I, for myself, didn't necessarily feel like I needed to go to a 4-year university to be able to do the things that I do. But my parents wanted me to do it because my brother was he was the straight A student. He was the one that graduated with a 4.8 cumulative GPA, top 5% of his class, and graduated UCSD like 3 years, for chemical engineering.
Okay.
And so like, yeah, so like I had that on me when like, I know like I wasn't really rocking with school that much during that time. Like at the time I had already started my first small business, out of my garage. I had a vape juice company.
Okay.
And I got asked to like manufacture, several thousand bottles across the US at that time. And I didn't take the leap because, I'm supposed to be going to school. Like I'm supposed to be focusing on school. And that's what my mom wanted me to do, during that time.
Yeah.
And she's also, she was a single mom. I have a stepdad now and everything, but it was just like a different, type of perspective. Like I had to really honor and respect, like, my mom made all these sacrifices, for us to like have this beautiful roof over our head and put us through school. And, we didn't have to pay for much of our college tuition, if any. Like I think I only paid like maybe 1 semester or 2 semesters out of my pocket, and she had a 529 account set up for us. Like after my dad had my biological father had passed away, she had started that for us. And so, I sought different types of opportunities, but I wanted to be able to honor her, especially being like in a Asian Pacific Islander household, so that's another pressure that got added on.
That's a big burden to shoulder. And again, trying to honor our parents, our ancestors and everything, but also letting them know that these pathways can be just as successful and just as rewarding, right? When I know like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like our parents were trying their best to basically take care of our basic necessities, right? So to even talk about our feelings or talk about like what our hopes and dreams are, in a sense, is when they're trying our best to put food on the table, it's a whole different discussion. And it took me a little bit of time to understand that. But now that they've given us this, right? It's up to us to take it to that next level of like understanding, caring, hoping for opportunities and hoping for different opportunities that even though our parents want us to do this, is that what we really want, right? Do we want that for ourselves? And if they align, then great. If they don't align, at least that with our program, we get to let our students know these are the different pathways you can take. It's not just a 4-year university, right? There's apprenticeships programs. There's other opportunities that you can get where certifications and such, where you can have a career, you can have a 401k, you can have full benefits. But we just want to make sure you have that knowledge before you make that decision, and then making sure that you're, can you give that and share that information with the next person over, right? With your cousin, with your siblings, with your neighbor, right? So that's all part of what we're hoping to do. But I totally agree with what you just said there. And again, I want to honor that too, because I mean, yeah, right. We stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, but also like we have an opportunity to make it easier for the next generation of people. So
yeah.
You spoke a little bit about helping the students understand what they're getting into. Can you tell us, I know you mentioned to me about the panels that you have before we get into the panel we want to do.
Oh, sure.
Tell them about the different panels and career paths that you kind of illustrate for these students.
Yeah. It all starts with our summer program. So the students that apply to our program, we actually have gotten funding from both San Diego Unified and Sweetwater to support our students. So it covers funding for us to have our summer, instead of going to summer school, they'd come to us. And first of all, for these students to want to come to us during their summer, they could be anywhere else, right? They could be at the beach here in San Diego, but they chose or are choosing to join us because they know about the opportunities. So they're spending a month with us learning about the college admissions process, but also we have different cohorts. So we have ethnic cohorts. We have a Latinx cohort, a Black cohort, a Southeast Asian cohort, and then we also have career-focused cohorts. We have a STEM cohort, and then we also have like Voices of Change, which is basically like around social justice, arts and humanities. And so with these cohorts, what we try to do is create a community within the community with a common denominator, right, of them being all first gen. So being first gen is one thing, but how that plays out and everything could be totally different, right? So if I'm in the Black cohort, that could be totally different than someone in the STEM cohort in terms of like sharing stories, sharing, what are some of the struggles and such. And so that's where it starts. And I think that's where like the crux of our program is so successful, is because they choose to be there in the summer. But then most of our instructors are students who were in our program already. So they're currently in college, and then they're the ones basically teaching the next generation of students. So you can't have a better role model than someone who's actually been through this process within a year or 2 years, right? But now they're at college. They're at these schools that these students want to go to, right? So to have someone from UPenn like teaching the students, or someone from Brown University sharing about their experience, or someone going to Berkeley, going to UCLA and saying like, hey, this is how I got here. But also at these colleges, some of the stuff that like it's not designed for us to succeed. So I had to do this, right? I had to connect with these organizations. I had to like do this on my own. I had to find other people and resources. And so for them to share that, both the good and the challenging is huge for our students. So as they go through this process, right? Which is again, one of the most stressful things in their lives, right? So going into college and applying is a process, but then to have someone who's done it and who really understands where they live, who maybe could have been their neighbor, like that just means all the difference. And again, you can't have a better role model than the students that are in our program, that have graduated and in return are teaching to students. So, we go through the whole process of college admissions. In addition to that, we help them share their story on paper, because a lot of times our students don't feel comfortable, right? They've never talked about this to someone. And so for them to put it on paper is a whole process. So it's not just applying to college, right? It's feeling comfortable and confident that their story matters. And I think that is something that is really powerful to be able to do that, right? Like I can write about it, but really, am I really writing about it? And I think to get to that next level where they're sharing details that, again, like as they're processing this, like we're holding them close, right? We're creating that space for them to feel comfortable sharing, but then help empowering them to make sure that their voice is heard, right? Because a lot of times, like, people will hire these 5K, 10K people like to almost like write their college essays for them.
Right.
And that's never what we've been about. What we want to do is make sure our students know that their story matters, and it matters even more because they're telling it through their authentic voice, right? And for them to find their voice is one thing, for them to articulate on paper is another thing, and then to feel confident that when they hit that submit button, that is truly who they are, like that's game changing. I don't even care what college they get into at that point, because I know that there's going to be a college that'll look at it and say like, I can't wait to have this student in my school. And that's the sweater I want them to rep, right? It doesn't even matter the name of the college at that moment. It's because they consider that student to be a vital part of their community, and they want them there. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why I feel like our students aren't just going to college. They're doing well in college. They're going to graduate. And in return, like in a couple of years, they'll be the ones that are, as a professionals, they're going to hire my next group of students. So, yeah.
That's good. Yeah. One thing that came to mind was like, I want to go somewhere that I'm celebrated, not tolerated.
Right.
Right. And so like when you get into these colleges, like they're celebrating over you actually being a part of their community is what you're establishing for these students, and not just like, oh yeah, you got them in, like, okay, cool. Let's go do this 4-year ride together, but like, no, let's be a part of this community. Let's build you up.
Yeah.
And so a lot of your, the cohort is, you said, was previous alumni that graduated from the cohort. So the main emphasis is targeting the high school students and then bringing them through this program to then get them into the college level.
Yeah.
And then after the college level, graduating debt-free, you're also establishing programs for them afterwards as well, to be able to go and get jobs and careers.
That's always been like our ultimate vision, right? The mission was to amplify and getting them into college, but the whole vision is to make sure that there's that pathway there from high school to career. And I think that the career part is really key, because again, to get them into college is one thing, but in my previous job, enough of those students were not graduating, or even when they did graduate, they had to take a 9-to-5 job for minimum wage that wasn't even related to their major. And that was heartbreaking to me. And I felt like we weren't doing enough, especially in these communities where we deserve, or they deserve, those opportunities. So to me, like, that wasn't the finish line. The finish line is graduating from college, getting that job where they know that it's something that they're passionate about. They get the money that they deserve, and in return, they have that opportunity to help out the next community member. And that's where I feel like, we're doing a disservice, we as in college prep programs, if we're not supporting students all the way through their career. And so, to be intentional about applying to college, and also be just as equally intentional about the career part, and do it at the same time. So like when you're applying to college, you're thinking about the through line, where you're going to be in your future. And then we're trying to find companies that believe in you and that will support you, not just as a high school student, as a mentor, but maybe offer internships and everything. And then in return, before you even graduate, have that job offer ready. Like, what a blessing for that company to give that to that student, but also what a blessing that student is for that company. Because I can't think of a better person. Like, if we did a career fair and I'm at a college, like if a student said, hey, they've been supporting me since I was in high school, and now I did an amazing internship my first and second year in college, and then before I even graduate, like, I have this job already. So I can't think of a better company for you to apply to than this company. Like, if a company can see this, I see it. So that's where I'm hoping that, again, like, so, Illumina, if you're out there, Qualcomm, this is where I'm hoping like we can make this happen. SDGE.
Yeah. So. Do you have any companies that you already have kind of an established relationship where like they kind of have this streamlined process to maybe accept a couple of interns, part of your cohort, and like kind of make them their own cohort, part of their company? Have you?
That is the next step. So that's what I'm hoping for. But we have had success where our students get internships right away. So like LPL Financial has been a real blessing for us too. So for them, again, as they have us do job visits, and through those job visits, our alumni also get to visit. But then some of our alumni have been, interns for them. And again, I've had students where they these internships, they're earning more in the summer than their family makes in a year.
Yeah.
And that's the game changing part.
Yeah.
Like, so like when we talk to our students and say like, yeah, wait till you get your career once you graduate, the fact that we can tell them that like, wait till you get your internship and they could help support their families even while they're in college. Like,
yeah,
that in itself is exactly what the opportunity is. And I hope these companies start to see like, we can do this. We can do this in our own backyard. I don't have to hire, someone in a headhunter, right? I don't have to I can look here and we're not that hard to find. Mm-hmm. So we just need to, again, create these bonds, create these opportunities. And again, it's up to me to amplify my youth and have them ready so that when they're looking for people, all we're doing is just how many you need.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. That's good.
Do you guys focus on financial literacy and trying to get them prepared for that as well?
We focus on the part of there's an emphasis on graduating with no debt. So when we talk to them about applying to colleges, again, it's not just the name part, and it's like you said, it's not just about being college ready. Like for our students, we're asking these colleges, are you student ready, right? And that's something that my senior program director Chris talks about. Like, are these colleges really ready to receive our students in a way that they should be received? Provide them with these opportunities, let them know that they're heard and seen, right? So that's one thing. But then also when they look at their financial aid packages, then how many of these students are actually going to be fully covered, right? Because the one thing we want to eliminate is that barrier of financial need, right? And so especially when we're growing up in scarcity, right? Like families, parents, even the students are really concerned, like, am I going to have debt? And so when we emphasize that and the way that we approach things while they're applying to college, that's all part of it. So when they're looking at their financial aid package, even though it sounds too good to be true, our students are getting full rides, right? So the fact that 8 out of every 10 are on track to graduate with no loans, I can't think of another program that says that, but also I can't think of another program that emphasizes that. And then I also want to say, why aren't other programs emphasizing that? And that's where I hope that we can share that information, knowledge with other programs, because again, we're not here to gatekeep. At the end of the day, we're here to support the youth in San Diego who deserve this opportunity. So, yeah. So, but definitely in the future, right? Once we start earning this money, how do we start taking care of them? So again, this is where partnerships, for example, with U.S. Bank and other banks that are here that are offering opportunities for our students to learn about financial literacy. We can't wait to take them up on that, because again, this is where I feel like we can be that resource for them.
I would love to come in and do a workshop with the students if the opportunity were there. That's actually how I got connected with Lauren. Was I taught or I led a workshop that they asked me to lead a workshop for financial literacy and business innovation.
All right.
For the ABA, in partnership with the SBDC, and so that's coming out of high school. That was the one thing that I wanted to be, was a psychologist.
Okay.
And then I was like, because I always knew I wanted to help people.
Sure.
But then I was like, I'm not doing 8 years plus of school when I already don't like school too much, right? And so I was like, okay, how can I continue to help people? And so at that point, I had already started investing. I've been investing since I was 18, and I took trading since I was 18. Yeah. And so I took that, started the restaurant eventually. But before the restaurant, I had worked for one of the companies you had named, LPL. Okay. I was a project manager over there, and I thought my course was going to be a financial advisor. Yeah. Instead of helping people with their personal problems, I could help people with their money problems, or their financial problems or whatever. And then, things came to an end with the corporate ventures, and then, ended up going the entrepreneur route. Yeah. And so now, I don't talk about it as much as I probably should, but I do like business coaching, financial coaching as well. And so, I've helped friends, kind of come out of debt, establish credit, build up to be able to, afford whatever their dream venture is, and that's kind of the overall goal.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see, what else you guys have in store. I know you guys have so much coming down the pipeline. Yeah.
Dizzy, should we talk about our?
Yeah. So the Doan Foundation, one of our missions was to establish workshops for these students to come and learn about the day-to-day operations of each creative industry, whether it be sound engineering or fine art, graphic design. Just because, like me going into college, when I went to San Diego State, I was planning to be a plastic surgeon, but I didn't really know exactly what I needed to do to get there. And then by the time I hit 2 years, I was just kind of like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. But I had already wasted 2 years. Yeah. I was under this impression that, everything's going to be great. I'm going to love all the classes I have, and everything's going to be smooth sailing. But that wasn't the case. The same is the case with a lot of apprentices I have in the tattoo industry, where they only think of the glorifying aspects of the career path, and they don't understand all the other micro things that you need to learn, like business, client relations, all that stuff. Right. So for a student to understand what they're getting into before they actually get into it, and use all their money, all their grants, and everything, all their time, and put it all into these next 4 years of their life, I truly want them to have something where they can get together with their peers and kind of weigh it out and see if it's worth it, if they really are as passionate as they think they are about the art and the work that comes with it, and not to have any miscalculated expectations of what it is. I'm not going to tell you that every single tattoo artist is rich, because that's not the case. Maybe like 10%, right? And they need to understand that about every single industry. But, as I said, we don't have the infrastructure in place for that to get those students there, which is where first-gen scholars is going to come in. So Jonathan had mentioned to me about having some sort of panel within the arts sector industry, since he already has one for business. And what other ones do you have already?
We have it for business, and then we have it for like life sciences and such. So
we want to establish like almost a joint venture in that regard, and get me, you, Steph, whoever from different sectors of the arts, and have these students actually learn about what it's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe do it quarterly or every twice a year or such.
I love where this is going, and I think that's where, again, you mentioned like keys to the city, right? Like, what better way for my students to learn about what these opportunities are, and how it could be not just a passion, but a living and something that they can pursue, than to have people who are doing it, right? And doing that work, but also being intentional about saying like, it's going to take this amount of work if you want it. And then I think for someone to listen to that and then make that decision, okay, from what they said, am I inspired more by it, or am I humbled by it, right? And I think either way, you're providing an opportunity for these students to have that information. And again, in a space where they don't usually get this information from professionals in the industry, like that's going to be important, but also to get it from professionals who understand where they're coming from, right? From where they live, that look like them. That's all unique and different, but also just, again, really, really inspiring to me. So I can't wait for that to happen. I'm excited about just possibilities on partnerships, and including people like, for example, like I didn't even know, but my godbrother is a designer. So he has a Dynamo Design Group in National City, and he's doing stuff with the San Diego Tijuana exhibition part. And like the fact that he's doing this, but also what he's doing in National City is trying to like basically have these mini internships for these creatives to learn about things, and using that design thinking method to create their own like capstone projects and to present it. I'm like, that's exactly where like, if we can connect everyone together like that, and then having my youth like be a part of that, like I can't wait. And I'm excited about that. But also, again, it as much as like people believe that our program is STEM focused, I'm success focused, right? I'm community focused. And I think part of that is understanding that there's more than just one way to get to where you want to go. And I think that's similar to what you mentioned, Christian, about the keys part. And then Dizzy, for you to even like just help like ignite that, right? So to be that catalyst, just very grateful.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us. We have a lot of different organizations that come into San Diego and do these things, like the San Diego Tijuana one, World Design Capital.
Right.
But there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do it ourselves.
There you go.
For our own people, right?
Yeah.
Well, he reached out to me last week too.
Is that right?
So I'm excited. Yeah,
There you
we're
go.
supposed to talk soon. I don't know about what, but we'll see what we can do together.
Oh man.
But yeah.
To bring like-minded people, but then also to bring like-hearted people. Like I'm excited to be a part of it. So
same. Yeah, I love what you said about being like community success focused, you know, because that's really the essence of what it should all be about. Like when it's something that's beyond yourself is where like everything really starts to thrive.
Yeah.
Like when I think of like our previous generations of, honoring our ancestors and stuff is, and I actually talked about this on a podcast with Lauren. She was one of my first guests. It was like, they were in such a survival mode mindset that they had to focus on self. Right. Like they had to focus on what was going on for themselves, because like, how are they going to make it out here in the States, and so like, how can we take that survival mentality and then bring it into thriving is exactly what you said, is making it a community success focused mindset, and heart set. And that's everything that I live by, through Keys to the City and all of my ventures, it's even though we're for profit on all of my ventures so far, it's always been a mission behind it, you know. With Smackin', it was being able to provide that physical space where Blacks and Chamorros could feel inspired and hopeful that they can go and do it too. Yeah. Because we're one of 4 Chamorro restaurants, physical, brick and mortar restaurants here in San Diego. And then past San Diego, there's one in Long Beach now that just got established within the past year. There's 3 in Vegas now. But like literally when you think about, even in Asian Pacific Islander cultures, like there's a lot more of other type of cultural food, everywhere else. Yeah. And so it's like, how do we get more representation? And so that's one thing that I felt like God told me to like start Smackin' first. It was like, let's start Smackin' first. And then from that, like these other things will come, So like this Keys to the City was something that I wanted to start out of my garage since before I started Smackin'. And I had bought these exact microphones that you guys are talking off of right now all those years ago. After I left LPL, I went straight to Barnes & Nobles and I bought How to Start a Podcast, How to Build a Personal Brand. And I bought these pieces of equipment and another couple pieces of equipment. I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know how to get started in it. And so I eventually like quit on the podcast idea. And then that's when like Smackin' became a reality. Okay. Like it was just like, no, just go here first. And then here we are 6 years later or 5 years later. And, we're in this full blown studio now, being able to do Keys to the City, out of the MK Lab. And one thing that I really wanted to talk about too was like, you guys talk about like internships and opportunities for these students, where like they don't just get started, but they get multiplying. They get successful in their craft. And that's what I'm really about, is like, no, we're not just going to stop at getting them activated in their gift. We're going to also get them multiplying in their gift. Right. Because here we service a lot of creatives out of here with our underserved community that we have here. And they love to create. But how are they going to become sustainable after that point of creation? Where is the merchandise as far as like a music artist? Where's the merchandise? Where's the touring? Ticket sales? These are the ways that they're able to come about being sustainable within their business. But they don't even know the tools or have the tools or resources to then make that decision. Whereas like this is one of the reasons why we created like the music studio out of here, is like I didn't have to, but like this was what opportunity that I saw missing and lacking from San Diego. Is like they they don't have that physical infrastructure and at an affordable cost or free even, right? And then all of the other tools. So like here, we have creative playground nights every Monday night. And we'll take them through a creative prompt. Well, the music artists will come in, they'll write out, like practice songwriting together. So they get like songwriting prep. And then we take them into the booth after like one of the producers has made a beat for them. And then they go and like lay down the verses, so they get studio prep. Out here they'll like do a live performance of one of their songs that they've been working on, and then over here we'll do like a radio show, like type of Sway in the Morning, Breakfast Club type of setup, where like they're able to then like perform something and get radio show type of experience too, right? And so just trying to create these different abundance of experiences for like more in like where Dizzy and I lie with the arts and culture, but it's really applicable to everywhere, because now we're with the agency that we have, we're seeing a need for like video editors and videographers and photographers, and so we have that abundance of opportunities for them here too, where like hopefully we can eventually start to streamline some internships from like the high schools, and they have like 1, 2, 3 cameras here, couple microphones. We have like lav mics and another 3 cameras over there, and you know, just different opportunities for them to come and like practice, and then even like sound engineering or producing, for them to come and practice as well, you know. So would love to. I'm excited excited for the opportunities hopefully to come, and hopefully the future partnerships that are to come as well. Thank you for setting this up, Dizzy. What else you guys want to talk about? What else is on the plate?
Well, just to piggyback off of what you just mentioned, like first of all, I just want to acknowledge like what you're doing is like you're removing all of those barriers to access that anyone has as a creative, right? So I think it's a beautiful thing where you identified what those barriers were, and like, okay, well, I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna take care of it. So everything that they need is here. I think that's very, again, just it's not just forward thinking, but again, very inspiring to me. It's very similar to where my students, what I do want to mention is like how community mindset and focus they are too. Because when they do our summer program, my favorite part was that, and it wasn't even my idea. It was all the scholars related. They started creating these first gen clubs. And so basically what one of my students told me was, she's like, hey, Jonathan, I hope you're okay with this, but every time, like after every lesson, I'm sharing it with my friends. And I'm like, I'm more than okay with it. And then eventually by the 3rd week, she's like, would it be okay to get the slide deck that you created to share? And then I'm like, okay, I think this is going somewhere. So yeah, happy to share it. And then she's like, can I start up a first gen club at my school? And then it went from one person at Southwest High, and Camila, thank you for this, right? So she started out as a junior. She's at Harvard now in a full ride, right? But it started at one school, and then now we have about 25 first-gen clubs. From San Marcos all the way down the border, we have students that have never been in our program that want to start a first-gen club. I'm like, man, this is crazy to think that like before, like all I had was something on paper, right? Of like, this is what I hope could happen. To see it like actually like come to fruition, and to see that these students want to do something, not just for themselves, right? But for their community, and that they identify like the opportunity, and then they want to share that opportunity with others. Like that to me is not just like, it's just, man, like that fills my cup every day. So like when I see on Instagram where a first gen club is popping up and like they're sharing about their officers, I'm like, this is not just like ground changing, but again, this is how we shift that paradigm for our community, right? Where it goes from like that whole mindset, like it was deficit, to now like it's strengths based, like who we are, our lived experiences, our strengths, and we can't wait to put it on paper. But also, I can't wait to help my neighbor with that too. So like that's the part that I am so excited about. It hasn't been funded at all. So again, like as a nonprofit, we're trying our best to do everything and be everything, but not at the expense of our own like mental health and everything too. And it's still a process. So I'm going to admit that. But what I'm saying is like the opportunity is here. And I feel like it's ripe for companies, for people in San Diego that believe in this work and that are hearing this today. Like if you feel compelled, like you want to support this, like I'm all on board. If it's your old high school that you're a part of, like, yeah, I want to help the Marauders over the first gen Marauders at Mira Mesa, or I want to help out the Spartans in Chula Vista. Like, we got you. We have first gen clubs at these places, and you can give back, right? It's more than just like donating money to a scholarship. I really want you to be a part of like this movement, because these students are just itching for this opportunity. So if you can give not just like the money part, but your talent and time, and you feel like this is something that you want to do, like let's talk. Let's talk.
Love it. Yeah, no, I've been looking at trying to connect with Mira Mesa High. So we did the Taste of Mira Mesa with Smackin' this past April. And I was speaking with the digital communications teacher or advisor, and she was saying how there's like 12 students or so that are like serious about, like video editing. They do like the Modern 5 and all this type of stuff. And I was like, okay, like let's set something up, So definitely want to continue those type of conversations, because I would love to like set up, especially like with the local ones here in Mira Mesa and Scripps Ranch or something.
I got Scripps Ranch too.
Because we're right here, like it's easier access for them to come to like this physical space, because we don't have an MK lab throughout all of San Diego County yet.
At the moment. I like that growth mindset. I hear you.
It's gonna be first gen lab.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So eventually that's definitely something that we've talked about, because my wife, that's not on the pod today, taking care of the baby over there. It was always her vision of having, she's much on the creative side, and then I'm much more on the business side. And so her vision, since we first started dating 8 years ago, or 9 years ago actually, was to have like this art complex, where like this huge art complex of like
Silicon Valley, but for the arts.
Yeah, like 15,000 square foot building, and just have this full networking and workshop and opportunity for creatives to just come together and have free resources, free tools and resources. And so a part of me agreeing to having this beautiful space, this communal space, was like, let's carry that vision out. Let's try to get that. And so this is like kind of a small blueprint to what that future endeavor really looks like.
Man, I could see it. I could see like even like if you all were to host something where it's in May, the API Heritage Month, like have a gallery of youth, like, just creators showcase their work and everything. Same thing in for, for African American History Month and for Chicano History Month, like all of these things. I see it, and I think again, that would be a space that hasn't been here, right? But also the fact that to have our youth be a part of that part again and nurture that, like I see that vision. I see it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when the time frame looks like, but I'm hoping to get those kind of wheels, turning. So love to learn more from you guys on what that really looks like, because you guys are out there doing it already. So what else, Dizzy? What else you got?
I don't know.
What else you got for us, Jonathan?
I'm just honored to do the work, honored to be here. I just feel like, again, while my program only starts serving students their senior year, it's capacity wise, right? We have 270 students that we're serving right now that are the class of 25, and I only have 5 staff members, right? A year ago, we only had 3, right? So the fact that we're doing this work is one thing, but I feel like we can do more. There's more. There's over 6,000 students that are first gen low income every year that are eligible to apply to college. Half of these students aren't even applying. So even though they did the work, they have the grades, it's just, I don't know, is it access to opportunity? Is it just frustration? It could be a whole mix of things. But my concern is like, there's a whole population we're not supporting, right? I'm only serving 260 students a year. That's a fraction of the 6,000 that are there. So like, I want to be like Pokemon and like catch them all and support them. But how can we do that? And I think this is where, again, like we're on the cusp of trying to do this, but I feel like we need that support. And I think that's where like the work that you're doing, work that Dizzy's doing, like we have that potential. We have the we have the opportunity, but we just need that support to get us to that next level, because I have people that want to work for us, right? And they can do it. It's just like, I that's my job as a founder, as executive director, right? I want to make sure that this program does not live and die with me, right? But it becomes first gen, right? So when they think about our program, they think about our program. They don't think about it individuals. And then for me to have enough support so I can hire more individuals that have that heart, that have that love. And because I would want my space similar to you, right? I want to be based in North County. I want to be based in East County. I want Chula Vista covered, right? I want City Heights covered, Southeast covered. And we can do it because our students, again, like we can see by the first gen clubs that there's a need. And so that's where, like, how do we tie that need to the opportunity and to the right people that will believe and make that happen too. So,
yeah, I think the sense of belonging is really important, because when I was in high school, we didn't really have a career center, any of that. There's just one counselor, and most people they're not comfortable enough to talk to the counselor or ask questions, because that one person is serving so many students. There's no hands-on help or anything. So we kind of just had to look stuff up online and, write an essay and just pray for the best. But with your programs, at least they have a group of people they know are on the same boat, and they can all figure out together and have your alumni guide them through. So that's a big factor. Can you tell us a little more about the Hoover program you're doing?
Yes. So as much as I've been, not satisfied with the work that we're doing, like as much as I love what we're doing, is that currently we're only supporting students their senior year, right? And so when I looked at the numbers, again, like we're data driven. And so when we look at the numbers throughout San Diego, for students who are graduating from San Diego high schools, and then so there's a certain number there, but then there's a certain number of students that qualify to apply for the UCs and CSUs. And the biggest discrepancy that I saw were young Black and brown men. So while they're graduating, they weren't eligible to apply to college. So when they're juniors and it's time to apply to my program, they can't even apply, because one of our things is you have to have at least a 3.0. And so in my head, again, this is how we challenge ourselves, right? It's like, am I perpetuating what's happening here, right? That whole thing about like not supporting our young Black and brown men. And so in a sense, yes, right? And so how do we address it? And so again, we're getting funding from San Diego Foundation, where we are going to be able to start freshman year.
Nice.
And so based at that school, we're going to have 4 years, and there's no GPA minimum, and there's certain populations that we're supporting. So it's English language learners, unhoused youth, and foster youth. So those populations in general tend to not get that support that they need to be college ready. So here we are getting a grant focusing specifically on those populations, so that by the time they go their junior year, that if they want to apply, that's great. If they're not, then how do we introduce what other pathways are available to make sure that they're making an informed choice? But the main thing is, I want to make sure by the time that they're juniors, that those choices are not reduced, right? But just amplified, right? So again, starting the freshman year is one thing, and we'll see where it goes. And if that works well at Hoover, then this is where I hope to go to Crawford, to Lincoln, to Morse, right? And then go from there to other schools and other districts that are Title I, and making sure that we're taking care of those communities.
It's beautiful.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
That is a lot.
I think a lot of people looking in, they have an inflated perspective. Of like, they're like, oh yeah, Jonathan probably has a whole team of like 200 people doing all this work, but really it's just a handful. And we hope that we get more volunteers and more people involved, and the county, city, whatever, to help alleviate some of that.
I would love that. And again, I mean, as a founder, you do everything, right? So, I mean, here's, I'm almost 50. I'm in charge of the social media, and I have no clue about like TikTok and stuff, but I mean, I try my best and grinding it out on Instagram when I grew up with like Friendster,
MySpace
and MySpace, right? So, but yeah, it's a process, but the last thing I'm ever gonna say is like, I'm never afraid of trying, because at the end of the day, like if I fall, I'm falling forward, because it's for the students. So
I would love to come behind you on that too. We have our agency team that can come behind, and if you needed that support for socials, website, whatever it may be, helping you get out there, advertising. I don't know if you spend money on ads at all, but not really.
Let's think of something, because like, again, I would love for my students to share their stories, because I feel like that in itself, their stories deserve to be told. And there's never been a platform for them to do it. And I would love for that to happen. And if that's something that we can do here, like
a little commercial or something,
yeah,
have a little documentary.
Yeah, that's what we do. So like we'll do like full, web design, landing pages and stuff. And then like have these consulting companies, bigger brands and stuff, they'll come and do like their video for like their landing pages, or they'll come and do their ads straight here in this podcast room. We have one coming right after this.
There you go.
And so they do like their webinars and their Instagram reels, ads and stuff like that out of here. And so yeah, if that's something that they wanted to do, or like they wanted to, the kids needed to start a podcast, whatever it may be, like there's a ton of different content creation steps that you can take out of here. And that's really what this space is kind of about. We call it like a content creating studio. So like,
I would love that.
Yeah, so there's just a bunch of opportunity for that we can definitely come and support on, but we can talk more about that. Yeah,
you can even eventually do a kind of first gen seminar type of deal where all the kids can access it online. And
that would be beautiful, because I got 12 students this fall that have full rides to Ivy Leagues, right? All from San Diego, all low income first gens. And I got 3 going to Stanford, a couple going to USC. For them to share their story, I think what that does, it lets people know that it's attainable, right? And I think that's why our students, so many more every year, are applying to private schools, are getting into private schools, are getting the Gates Scholarship. It's because they see it, right? And then I think it takes one person to be a trailblazer, right? Such as all of you are. But then once that first person does it, like that becomes, right, that pathway becomes that much more easier to walk. So
I think what you said earlier, it becomes the norm, right? And like continuing to make it the norm of this next generation. Right. I myself have a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 3-month-old, and so like I want to be able to see these young girls, be able to take like what we established and run with it, like passing the baton off, and being able to just like know that they're going to be able to do whatever it is that they're wanting to do, and capable of doing, And so I think that it's really important for us as this generation of folks to be able to lay those foundations, those bricks down for them, So, yeah.
Looking like a true girl dad.
Love it. Yeah, I think it's great that you guys encourage these kids to be their authentic self when applying for these scholarships, telling their stories, because then they don't have that, they don't proceed with that imposter syndrome like we had, starting from scratch, right?
Yeah.
And they're able to, go through their education, their careers, all that, with knowing that they were accepted for who they are.
Exactly.
As is. They didn't have to be an iguana,
right,
and follow the norm just to.
You said we had.
There you go.
You said we had.
There you go.
I still got it. I still got the imposter syndrome. Right? I still battle with it. How we like to this day, I'm like, I'm how many businesses deep, and I'm still got the imposter syndrome, man.
Yeah. But that hasn't stopped us, and that's the thing, right? And the fact that like what you mentioned about imposter syndrome, like we tell our students, right, you're not someone's copy.
Yeah.
You're an original. Yeah. And so for you to own that part helps process that and defeats that. Yeah. But again, we know it's not just a one-time thing, right? It's again, where those comparisons are always going to be there. Those fears are always going to be there, but just know that they're not alone while they're trying to process that part. So,
yeah. You have like-minded people. Yep. You have brothers and sisters around you that are battling the same battles. Very, very similar battles. And so cool. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of Keys to the City. I just want to leave you both off with one last thing, which is Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." And so I just want to encourage both of you guys to continue to go out into your city and to continue to make the positive impact that you are able to make and continue to be a light in our community. And so thank you. Appreciate your time. Yeah.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.